Okay, and we are live. Hey guys, welcome to the Superherocuts podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. It's your boy Stevie Hayes, joined by Jerry, aka Comic Cuts, and we have back to back guests this week, man. And fun fact, we are all in a group chat. So the other guy, Culture Pool from last week, we are all in a group chat now. Shout out to Jerry. I want to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Slav. What's up, bro?
What's going on, guys? It's great to be here. Honestly, I mean, this has been something we've talked about for probably like 3 or 4 months now. So
Yeah,
it's nice to actually have it happen. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's.
Oh
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to tell you this right now. It is really weird being on StreamYard and not having all the controls on here. It's really weird.
yeah. That's a good perspective, But yeah, I've never been on the other end of StreamYard, so I don't know what that's like. But it's funny because we share an account, so whenever I comment, I try to remember to write like dash Jerry, so people know that the comment came from me and not Stevie.
Facts, bro. Facts. That's hilarious. So yeah, bro. We are so happy that they are on. Even though Slav talks comic books, he talks a lot of things. This guy is super talented. Has really good takes. So we're happy to have him on today
Yeah.
as we talk about rumors, theories, MCU. We're going to be
By the
shooting
way,
it today.
do you want us to call you Robert or Slav?
Either one. I mean, Slav is for my YouTube. I go by Robert on my other podcast. So either one's fine. Whatever you're
All right.
more comfortable with is
We're,
fine
we're
with
probably
me.
going to go with Slav because we've been
That's
referring
fine.
to you as Slav for a
That's
while
Perfect.
now.
perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
All
Perfect.
right.
So before we get into it, can you just tell our audience just like how you got into comic books, how your love for comic book movies started, and how that led you to covering it now?
Honestly, my love started back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. I mean, my first memory of a movie was going and seeing 1989's Batman in the theater. I fell asleep on my mother's lap. I do remember that. Um, so that was like my first memory of
OG.
of of anything when it comes to nerdy stuff. But growing up, I mean, it's funny. I saw the rundown today. We're going to be talking about this, but one of my favorite cartoons growing up was the Spider-Man the animated series. Loved that series as a kid. Batman the animated series was huge into that. But I mean, things like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series, and then Star Wars. Star Wars was my escape as a kid. Had some issues in school growing up, and my weekends were Star Wars. That was my getaway. My getaway was Luke, Han, and Leia. Those were my friends away from all the bull crap that I had to deal with in school. So Star Wars was my escape for many, many years. And that's really what drew me to being the nerd, the geek that I became as an adult. And, obviously through that time, I dabbled in anime and comic books and a whole bunch of different things throughout, throughout my life. And DC, when it comes to superhero, I always kind of lean more towards DC, I think, because of that Batman connection. I even remember times sitting with my father when I was really young, sitting on his lap eating Sandy's cookies, watching 66 Batman reruns. But I mean, it's things like that push me more towards DC. But Marvel came out with a bang, in 2000, what was it, 2009 with Iron Man, and that kind of took me away in a direction that I never thought I would go with Marvel. And I mean, we see where it's at today, but I mean, it's been a journey for my 30. I mean, I'm 38 now, so for about 34 years, it's been quite a journey of just being a nerd. That's really what it is.
I'm
The
really a
Fire
young bull,
Origins.
bro. I'm
Yeah,
really a young
yeah.
bull.
I'm
I'm
33,
playing.
so I'm like closer to you. But it's funny because whenever we talk and like I said this to Stevie, I was like, I don't want to come off as like ageist because I hate when people do that to me. But like I always tell them when the Dark Knight trilogy came out, superhero movies were not the wave. And
Here we go.
it was a huge achievement to sell that to a fandom that didn't exist. So in a way, everything we have now like owes a lot of gratitude to Nolan and the Dark Knight trilogy. But it's funny you say that about like this, dude. I quit karate Saturday mornings because I was like, well, I gotta watch Spider-Man and Batman. Like, get me out of this,
Batman the Animated Series, another great one.
Screw karate. I learned how to fight through the TV show.
Yeah. Oh man, those are the days. It's funny too because I saw they put the Spider-Man animated series on Disney Plus, and I didn't go to actually watch it, but I just wanted to see what it would look like. And I remember as a kid thinking it looked so like futuristic and so amazing, and now it just looks like crap. It's just, and I think that's an awesome thing. Shout out to innovation in tech, and on that note, there's like a lot of people online that are like, oh, buy physical media, support physical media. Like, listen, I'm all about the quality of the visuals and the sound, but at the same time, people overlook how valuable convenience is. And the fact is, you can decide what you want to watch in the snap of a fingers, and you have access to it. So, streaming, for all the things people criticize it for, I think that in the future, people are going to show it a lot more respect than they do right now. And I think most people do, but I think it's like a very niche thing in our world where some people like crap on it and they think streaming executives are greedy and it's like ruining DVD sales. Like, we wouldn't be getting a lot of the content that we're getting today if it weren't for the innovation of streaming. So shout out to that.
Bet. Okay, now save your Dark Knight stuff because we're going to talk about that at the end of the episode. Hopefully, I can get you and Slav on different sides when we because we are so instead of reacting to tweets, we're kind of going to be switching up doing kind of fun stuff. So we're doing like a this or that type thing, like which movie, which show is better than the other. And obviously, I threw the Dark Knight in there just to piss off, obviously Comic Cuts because he's a Dark Knight fan. All right, so. All right, now let's get into the first topic of today. Okay, so we are going to be talking about some Spider-Man 4. That is really the heart of this episode today because for some reason, so much Spider-Man 4 rumors have been dropping. So I kind of want to tell you guys one by one, and then we just go down the list. All right. So first off, guys, let's talk about the rumored plot for Spider-Man. So it says this: Tom Holland's Peter Parker persona will reportedly start fading away in the MCU. In his mind, Peter Parker is no more, but Spider-Man lives on. Since he has either lost or detached himself from everyone he has ever loved, all he has to keep him going is being Spider-Man, whether the city loves him for it or not. As the title of Spider-Man continues to consume Peter's life, little by little, Peter Parker will take a backseat and continue to fade away from existence slowly. So, and just to give you guys a heads up, for anyone that is watching right now, we are just talking about the plot, and then after this, we will be talking about the people who are in talks to direct it. So, how do you guys feel about that plot kind of being the groundwork for the rumored groundwork for Spider-Man 4?
I think there's a lot that I like about it, but I still have a concern. I like that Peter is going to be not happy. And I know a lot of fans hate hearing that, but like, if you don't understand that Peter doesn't get to be Spider-Man and then be happy as Peter Parker, you don't understand Spider-Man. It's all about the sacrifice. It's all about not being able to balance the two. That is like the core of Spider-Man, number one. Number two, I'd love to see a darker take on Spider-Man in the MCU. Not to go Spider-Man 3, but I would love to see like a black suit Spider-Man in the MCU. I think that would be fire. The other thing though, with my concern is I still think you need some Peter Parker to drive home a powerful Spider-Man movie. And I think that's what like the Raimi movies did so well. The world building around Peter Parker. There were all these characters in Peter Parker's life. There was Aunt May, there was MJ, there was J. Jonah Jameson, Betty Brant, and his landlord and the landlord's daughter. So I think that there needs to be some of that. whether things are going good or bad in his life is another thing. But I do think they need some aspect of Peter Parker's life.
See, the way I kind of read that is that it seems like they're going to be phasing out Peter Parker for Miles Morales. That's how I read it. Not so much that they're going to be phasing, yes, they're going to be phasing out the idea of Peter Parker in the minds of in the idea of Peter Parker for the other characters, but all the other characters we already know that no one knows about Peter Parker anymore. I mean, they just don't. They don't know who Peter Parker is. Everybody only knows Spider-Man. That's it. Nobody knows who Peter Parker is in the MCU at this point in time. So to me, it sounds like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the way I read it was wrong, but that's the way I kind of took it, was that they're going to be phasing out Peter Parker, because there's already been rumors that they're going to be moving in that direction of possibly passing the mantle on to Miles Morales in live action. With the success that we've seen with Into the Spider-Verse, and with the success of what we've seen in the video game, the Spider-Man video games, with Miles Morales taking the mantle there, even, I think that's what they're going to be. That's what their plan is. I think that's what they want to do, is they want to move in that direction for live action as well. So I could see them very much that being their plan, and maybe that's the idea, is if we kind of remove the focus from Peter Parker, even in the show, in the movies, as we build up Miles Morales in some form or fashion, it would just be an easier transition to move into that. That's kind of how I looked at it. But again, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah. So it's funny you guys say that, like both of those things, because I am thinking of Spider-Man being similar to the Batman, where like Robert Pattinson's Batman was kind of lost in the cape. He was just so caught up in doing Batman things that he kind of like forgot who he was, which he's also Bruce Wayne too. But so I actually do love that idea, because I mean, it would make sense that he would start going down this path, obviously. So to me, that idea doesn't rub me the wrong way. The question, but we do need some things to happen though if you go down this road. Number one, because regardless of what happens, you need characters to be able to showcase Peter Parker still, even if he's in the suit 80% of the film. You need Harry Osborn, you need Norman Osborn, you need someone, and and we're going to talk about this after we talk about the directors, but Zendaya is coming back as well as like MJ. Are they going to retcon and rewrite her to be just the definitive Mary Jane of the MCU, or are we bringing in Gwen Stacy? Like, what is, like, I think that I think the main concern for me is like what new characters are going to be in this, because I don't think there's a place for Ned at all in this new MCU.
But do you really
Spider-Man
think
film.
that we're going to have another 3 movies with Tom Holland? I don't think we are. I think at most we might have 2 more movies with Tom Holland. I truly believe that the idea is to transition away from Peter Parker completely. And I get this idea that we want to see all these characters. We want to see Harry Osborn. We want to see the Osborns. We want to see more of J. Jonah Jameson. We want to see Gwen Stacy. We want to see all these characters that we know from the Spider-Man lore connected to Peter Parker. But I don't see them sticking with Tom Holland long term as an actor in the MCU. I think I just basing off of all the decisions that we've seen Marvel make over the last 4 or 5 years now, it makes me believe that they would rather move in a direction that would give them a cheaper actor, a younger actor, a more diverse actor that would give them more to build off of. Let's not forget that, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, while people do like him, he is a divisive casting, not casting, but there's definitely a lot of divisiveness around that version of Spider-Man, because there's a lot of people who love Andrew Garfield who hate Tom Holland. There's a lot of people who love the Tobey Maguire and still hate Tom Holland. So I think that they may want to try and find another way to move in that direction, move into another direction. Again, I could have read it completely wrong. You guys might be onto something else, but that's again, I'm going back to what Tom Holland has said in the past, where he's talked about the idea of wanting to introduce Miles Morales into it. And I've, going back to the popularity of Miles right now, he is huge right now. And if you think about it, the third Spider-Verse movie comes out the end of this year? Is it the end of this year?
Next year, right?
No, I think got delayed.
Is it next year?
Yeah.
Regardless, that movie will come out before this next Spider-Man movie comes out. So that'll be done and over with. Right time to introduce Miles Morales in live action and start moving him forward. I'm not saying you can't have both of them, but that's why I don't think Tom Holland is the long term. And that's why Zendaya that's why I think bringing Zendaya back now, because you're going to get that happy ending with this Peter Parker by bringing Zendaya back sooner. You bring her back, you give Peter his happy ending, and you continue with Miles.
So, first of all, I hope they don't give Peter a happy ending. That's number one. I don't think I don't think that would be accurate to the character. But I made a video that we put out, like, I think yesterday or today.
Sunday.
Sunday. So I do think they are 100% going to bring in Miles, and I think it's going to be on the sooner side also. And I think that my big theory about it is that they're going to cross over the Miles Morales of the Spider-Verse movies into the MCU. And my reason behind thinking that is
sorry, I've been waiting to play that clip. Go.
Oh, okay. I'm so confused. So you should have let me know you were doing something.
My bad, bro. I just added it. My bad. Go ahead.
So my theory is that they have done such a good job commercially and financially with Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse movies that why would they do a completely new character when, number one, they get to pull him from a different universe, so they don't have to explain how Miles Morales came to be in this universe, but they don't want to have to sell a new character. They get to sell the same character. And I'm not saying Shamik Moore is going to be playing the character or anything like that. They're going to get a totally new actor that's, talented and not just being a voice actor. And I think that's going to happen. But I don't think they are going to pull away from Peter Parker so soon. And that is because, first of all, I'm pretty sure Tom Holland signed on to do at least 2 or 3 more movies. Granted, that could be 1 more Spider-Man movie and 2 more Avengers movies. We really don't know. The other thing, though, is he's went back and forth on it, which reminds me of how Daniel Craig was when he said, I would rather slit my wrists than play James Bond again. And then, obviously, he played James Bond again. And it's always been my theory that he said that to get a bigger paycheck, which he got. But I don't think that they're going to do away with Peter Parker. I think they've wanted to make Peter Parker the center of the MCU for a very, very long time. But I also think they want to bring in Miles because Miles is obviously a huge, huge success, and the MCU wants a taste of that in their universe. And they need big, strong characters right now. They could use a character like Miles Morales in the MCU right now. And I also think that Secret Wars is the perfect opportunity to bring him about, considering that's what they did in the comics.
Yeah. So first off, Marvel would be idiotic to drop Tom Holland. He's one of the most famous stars in Hollywood. Okay, Spider-Man, even though they put out Far From Home, which was utter trash, still made a billion. Homecoming did 800 mil. Even the third one did bazonker's amount of money. Tom Holland is a really big actor. I mean, the live action Spider-Man has been more profitable than the Miles Morales Spider-Man will ever be. I don't think that Miles Morales Spider-Man will ever be more famous than Peter Parker ever. And I do disagree with the fact that it is going to be really hard to sell Miles by himself. you need Peter Parker to sell Miles Morales. And to be honest, I think that Miles Morales will make Tom Holland stay even more as Spider-Man, having them two kind of lead together. I just, Tom Holland is young, and I believe that the reason why Feige brought in Tom Holland so young is because they want us to age with the character. Like I feel like we are meant to see Tom Holland grow old and have kids, and I think that is the story that we are going to get with Spider-Man. And no matter how much Tom Holland talks, money talks, bro. Money talks, and if Marvel's giving him the check, best believe he will do it. Because no offense to Tom Holland, but outside of Marvel, I mean, he hasn't really done much that well. I mean, I'm just being honest. I even watched the murdering show or he was in some other show, and I didn't really think his acting was that good. I mean, for someone like Tom Holland isn't Timothy Chalamet, where Chalamet is able to go to a bunch of different movies and cause havoc everywhere. I mean, I think that the MCU is where Holland needs to stay, and I really don't see a part where Holland's not a part of the future. I would argue that he is the future of the MCU with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Also, I just want to throw in real quick. Imagine the hype around a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. I mean, we could definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, and also with the fact that he most likely, the theory that's going around is that hold on, wait, the theory, hold on, where's the clip? Hey, sorry guys, I've literally been waiting to post. So the theory that's been going around is that he's supposedly going to die at the end of Spider-Man 4. That's when the symbiote jumps on him. Movie ends. Then we go right to Secret Wars. So if that's true, that's a whole bunch of other content, or that's a whole other movie that we can do with the symbiote. And then I guess maybe the next movie you bring in a live action Miles Morales. But Amy Pascal talked about the fact that she wanted to do a solo Miles Morales movie. So I mean, there's a lot that Marvel and Sony has to iron out about how live action Miles is going to come in. But I mean, it's possible, but I don't think that you bring in Miles and you etch out Tom Holland. I think that you need Tom Holland to sell Miles to the fans, in my opinion.
Again, like you said, though, I mean, we could have Miles. We could have Tom Holland's Peter Parker for another 4 movies, 2 Avenger films, 2 Spider-Man movies. That's 4 more movies. And that's establishing Miles in 2 or 3 films there. I think that would be plenty to establish Miles before moving him on. I mean, 3 movies to establish any character is more than enough. And then you would still have Tom Holland, because I don't think you kill off Tom Holland Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. I think you would still have him around that pops up, similar to how Tony Stark was used in the original Spider-Man trilogy, where he could pop up at any moment. But in this case, he can pop up at any moment through Miles Morales' Spider-Man moving forward. And I disagree that a Miles Morales Spider-Man franchise wouldn't be as successful as a Peter Parker, Tom Holland, Spider-Man franchise. I think it could. I think it could be just as successful, if not more so. Maybe not more so, but just as successful, because again, it's Spider-Man. And I know that, we won't get into the whole debate that happened on Twitter multiple times on who is Spider-Man. Miles Morales is Miles Morales, Peter Parker Spider-Man. Look, I believe that Miles Morales is Spider-Man when Peter Parker is not Spider-Man. And if Peter Parker is not Spider-Man, Miles Morales is Spider-Man. And that can easily be explained, and people will buy that. The large general audience will buy that and accept that. And a Spider-Man movie will sell, especially one set in the MCU. And I think it will be just as successful. And I think, like I said, if you have 2 Avenger films with Peter Parker, plus 1 full Spider-Man movie with Holland and 1 that's split with Miles and Holland, or Miles and Peter, I think it'd be a hell of a way for the two for that to go. But
yeah. I do have a question though. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, listen. First of all, I think that the Spider-Verse movies prove that Miles Morales Spider-Man is accepted by the larger general audience. The success of Spider-Man Miles Morales for PS5 proves that Miles Morales is accepted by wider general audiences. I don't know about the Miles Morales comic sales at all, but they've had a large number of runs of the character, and he's only been around for like a little more than 10 years. So I have to imagine they do pretty well. And they obviously they called it Spider-Man, but it really was a Spider-Man game. They just started doing the Spider-Man comics again. And I think that, and I know I've been talking about this a couple times recently, but I'm a huge sneaker collector, and I also used to work in the footwear business. And I worked for one of the most popular brands in America, but they're not really known for men's sneakers. And what I learned was that, there's a reason that sneakerheads are always able to see Nike and Adidas differently than they do other brands. And the reason comes down to heritage. Like Jordan will always have that heritage. Nike will always have that heritage. And that's something that you can't buy. Peter Parker will always have an advantage when it comes to heritage over Miles Morales because he's been around for 60 something years at this point. However, Marvel, and this is why I always say this with Spider-Man, there is no better character management in the game. Since Miles Morales' inception, we have seen such a high frequency of successful projects around the character that the kids that are growing up since Miles Morales was created, and they're growing up with Miles Morales, and they're seeing the Spider-Verse movies for their birthdays, and they're playing PlayStation with Miles Morales. These kids, to them, Miles Morales will always have a strong heritage. And I think that my point is there is going to be a large portion of the fandom that sees the heritage of Miles Morales in a way that we see with Peter Parker. And I think as more time goes on, that's only going to grow.
Yeah. I do agree with that. And you and I have said this on the pod that Miles is the Spider-Man of the Gen Z. He is Gen Z's, and I'm Gen Z, and I'm more of a Peter guy, but he is Gen Z Spidey. And
he's their superhero. He is their superhero.
And by the way, we love Miles over here. We love Miles Morales. By the way, but I have a hard time. Like, I think he's going to be really, really big. I just feel like what they've done with Peter Parker, I just don't see that being touched at the moment. But I'm always open to definitely being wrong. The only fear that I have, bro, with Miles is that everyone will hold him to the animated standard, and that could either go really well or really bad. And that's kind of unfair because it's easy to make a digital Miles, because you're just voicing them and then you're doing all of the movements yourself. But like, they really have to find an actor that's able to be a mix of the animated Miles Morales and the game one. And I mean, look, Marvel has always, and Marvel has been pretty much really good with casting. So, maybe I'm wrong to even, doubt them.
Yeah, I also think that Marvel will figure out the innovation. And when Miles Morales' first solo MCU movie comes around, like, that's going to be a groundbreaking movie.
Yep. All right. And Marvel, if you don't know, hire me, man. I'll take the money. All right. Let's so for real, bro. Put a brother on. Okay. So let's talk about some Spider-Man directors. Okay? So there are two directors that are in talks. So the first is Justin Lin. Okay. Justin Lin was reportedly in the mix to direct MCU's Spider-Man 4. He directed Fast 5. He also directed Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. And then the second director is Drew Goddard. Okay, so Drew Goddard wrote for Avengers 1. He also he uncreditedly wrote for Avengers 1 and Avengers Age of like Ultron. He also wrote for the Daredevil show as well. So these are the two directors that have kind of been rumored to take that Spider-Man film. How do you guys feel about these? How do y'all feel about these guys being in talks to take that Spider-Man film?
You want to take this one first, Slab?
So Drew Goddard, he also wrote The Cabin in the Woods, which
Yep,
was a fantastic movie. I love that movie. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I do love that. But he's rumored to direct. I don't think he's directed anything, has he?
I don't think so. But
see, I'm a little worried about first time director jumping in like that. First time director, Michael Giacchino, when he first directed, his first director thing that he did was that Werewolf by Night. And I think that was like great for him to like get his teeth wet, do something small like that. And it was fantastic. To do something big like this, I don't think is really great. And who was the other name that you mentioned? It was Justin Lin.
Yep.
That's kind of bizarre to me. I don't know if I can see Justin Lin doing a Spider-Man. I would actually want to see that. Because I think that would be really wild, fast-paced. Maybe some car chases in there. I don't know. Because he's I don't know how I could. I don't know. Let me see what else. What else has Justin Lin done? Fast Fury. He's in like 14 Fast and Furious movies. Like,
I
think that's why, though. To be honest,
he did Star Trek Beyond. He did do that, which wasn't bad. That was actually one of the better ones.
The new Star Trek movies, by the way, have been pretty solid. I don't know what happened, why they stopped making them, but the first two that I saw were pretty good.
But he did do the newest Space Jam, which no.
Yeah. I think that
Justin Lin, like, he is that guy with Fast and the Furious. And a lot of people had an issue that Vin Diesel had a falling out with him. People were really upset with Vin Diesel over this. And I will tell you, I'm a big Fast and the Furious guy. I always have been. And another one of my close friends is also, and we both always say, Justin Lin is that guy. He's great behind the camera. I really think that Justin Lin could make a Miles Morales movie pop because, listen, you could say what you want about Fast and the Furious, but for a large commercial action franchise, those movies have style.
Yeah, and if we are talking about a action-packed Spider-Man film where he's in the suit for 80% of the movie, I mean, if you're just trying to make an action-packed adventure, that's the guy you want there. I mean, if you go back and watch those Fast and Furious films, they have been action-packed adventures, and it's also all about who you keep as writers in the room. I mean, the biggest issues that I had with John Watts and his films was, number one, pacing, and the balance of the focus of Peter Parker and Spider-Man was just non-existent. It was just a Peter Parker focused film for all three. So I think that Justin, and that's why I think they're going for someone like Justin Lin, because he's the complete opposite. I just hope that Justin Lin, if he does this, is able to have that balance of yes, we're going to focus on Spider-Man, which I'm cool with. I want that. But there has to be some Peter Parker too. So, I mean, I think it's good news, but let's read some chats. Let's read some chats. All right. Brendan said, how many times can you keep rebooting the story? You can reboot Spider-Man as many times as you want. I'm going to
they've gotten away with it 3 times in the past 20 years. So,
bro, they can freaking cast me, bro, and it will make money.
Technically, they didn't reboot Tom Holland's Spider. We never really saw the reboot of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He was just there. I mean, we really didn't see how he became Spider-Man. He was just there.
And they should do the same thing if Tom Holland's out. They made too much money off Spider-Man just to drop him. You were right about that. It's too early for Miles in the new Spidey trilogy, unless you mean Miles as just Miles and not as Spidey. Peter needs to be way more established and experienced before bringing Miles like PS4. Let me see. I do agree. And if you listen earlier, a Hungry Slab said that Miles would come on the back end of the trilogy, so the torch would kind of be passed. but Slash said that Peter would kind of still, be around to like give advice. He might even jump in battle sometimes, but Miles would still be like the definitive Spider-Man. So, all right, Miles being established happens when Peter Parker is older. I still think it's way too early. Brendan, here is a question: will it be too early 5 to 6 years from now, or even 5 to 10 years? Because all these movies are getting pushed back. Comic Cuts, this is for you. Peter does need a happy ending. You can have him struggle, but the last thing I want to see is Peter Parker dying, then being replaced with Miles. I never liked that idea.
I agree with that.
My point go ahead.
But they like I do like the concept of Peter Parker having a dark, bad time and bringing in Miles, but I don't necessarily think they need to kill him off to bring in Miles.
Yeah, that'll be wild. I would not like that at all. If you could direct a movie, what would it be? If we're talking about a movie that hasn't been out yet, I would definitely direct a Invincible movie because I love Invincible.
I picked James Bond.
How about you, Slav?
Interesting. I'm on a Star Wars train. I mean, it had to be a Star Wars. Look,
You know what?
I originally wanted to go to school to do Star Wars. Honestly, when I graduated in 2004. I wanted to go to film school. Never did end up going.
Me too.
But, I wanted. It was like, I want to go do like industrial light magic type of stuff. I wanted to do that. Didn't do it, but mainly because I was like, they're coming out with a third Star Wars. I'd never get to do Star Wars, so why even bother? Type of thing. Little did I know that 10 years later we'd be getting more Star Wars. But
you could have saved us, Slav. You could have saved us.
I could have saved us.
We would be so lucky if they hired you instead of the garbage people they're hiring right now.
Exactly. Dude,
me instead of
come on,
J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson. Man.
If only I could go back in time and just like talking here. Go to film school.
Yeah, like
this is your conscience,
like Barry and Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, just. So I hate his form. All right, but we're not going to go down the Ezra train. God, I hate his running form. It makes me go nuts.
It's so
God.
goofy.
I just rewatched the Flash movie. I'm like, bro, his form got worse. Right.
Still not a terrible movie, though.
I love the movie.
I like the Flash. I
loved it. I thought it was great.
And that freaking Flash score, the Flash score when he first runs into the friggin' Speed Force is fire. When he's running at normal speed, then he goes like, that was fire. That was fire.
By the way, I thought that was also like it was very Danny Elfman, and it was fitting that have Michael Keaton in the movie with that score.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna skip this one for right now. Let's talk about X-Men 97. Okay. So did you guys watch it? First off, did you guys watch the first two episodes?
I did not. But you can spoil away.
Are you fine if we spoil?
Spoil away.
Perfect. Okay. So this project got these first two episodes got a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which to me is crazy. I was honestly shocked that I got a 100%, even though Rotten Tomatoes and myself had beef, but I was still shocked that it got a 100%. And I literally watched both episodes 6 times since it's come out. And let's talk about episode 1 first. Let's just get through episode 1. So the first thing that we need to talk about is Cyclops, man, because Cyclops, excuse my language, he has been hoed for the past 20 years. Okay. And this freaking episode, or these 2 episodes, has given Cyclops his respect as the actual leader of the X-Men. Like Jerry, that scene when the freaking ship blows up and he's like everybody see you on the ground, and then he freaking uses his blasters to stop his falling. Bro, I was going crazy.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
That was because I was like, yo, are they going to grab a Cyclops? And then he goes on the ground, bro. I was losing my freaking mind, bro.
Me too. I
was like, this is the leader, bro. This is the leader I need. Like, I was going crazy. Oh my God. So the whole entire first episode was fire. I think that I don't want to go too deep. You know what? Let's just talk about episode 1 like Antu, because they're both, connected to each other. Comic Cuts or Jerry, how did you like Magneto?
Oh man, Magneto, he was incredible. He just like, dude, that's the Magneto we need. Like he grabbed his balls. He was like, and he was still. It's funny because he was still savage, but he was trying to be like, listen, I am going to respect Charles's wishes, but like after they violated Storm, and he was like moving all of them in that orb. Um, just I forget exactly what he said, and I rewatched the episode last night in an effort to remember what he said, but I forget exactly what he said. But I remember thinking like, yeah, that's a Magneto we need. Listen,
Yeah.
I will say it at every show. Like Magneto is the ultimate villain, and the reason he's the ultimate villain is because you sometimes what he's doing is wrong, and if you take it at face value, he's the villain. However, no matter what he does, he always has a reason for it that makes you think like, would I do this? Wouldn't I do the same thing if I were him?
Yeah.
And that's what makes Magneto so valuable to the storytelling of the mutants and X-Men, and makes him such an impactful villain.
Yeah, and just to give you guys context of what happened in the show, so basically, Professor, if you guys watched the show back in the day, Professor X is obviously dead, and what ended up happening is, Cyclops is the leader of the new X-Men. He's basically the principal of the freaking school, and so Cyclops is still struggling with the death of Professor X while having to lead this team while Jean Grey, or as we think is Jean Grey, while Jean Grey is pregnant. And so what ended up happening was they ended up, fighting some. So they had to capture basically this guy because he still had the code to the Sentinels and all that jazz. And so they end up capturing him. And then when they get back from their mission, bro, Magneto says, I am in charge of the X-Men now. And basically in Professor X's will, he put that if Professor X dies, Magneto is basically the sole proprietor of the school and the X-Men. And so everyone was kind of freaking out about that. And then we also find out that he was smashing Rogue. He was blowing. Oh, I'm not going to say that. Let me stop. Whoa, sorry. Yeah, he was. Sorry, somebody said it on a show and it's been stuck in my head. But but him and Rogue had a thing, and in the show, Rogue is dating Gambit. And so, they're kind of building off this Rogue and Magneto relationship. And like when you're first watching the show, Slav, you think that Magneto has something like going on behind him, and Slav, we will definitely talk about that after this for sure. Because I have a rant. All right, I'm not gonna get excited. And so basically, bro, what ends up happening is the government comes, they take Magneto to trial, and a bunch of anarchists like come in the freaking courthouse to try to kill Magneto and take away his powers. They end up shooting Storm, taking away her powers. And then Magneto flips out, puts the freaking like the UN or whoever in this magnetic field, bro, and flies them to freaking space, bro. Like, and then he's literally like, and then he's talking to him saying like, yo, like I should kill you all, but I'm not because I'm trying to actually change. And that's when, and then in that same moment, and while that's happening, Jean Grey is having her kid, and then obviously I haven't talked about Wolverine yet, but in the show they are still, hitting that plot of Wolverine is still in love with Jean Grey. You can tell he's jealous of Scott having a kid, and there's just stress that is building that Scott and Jean Grey are going to leave. And they ended up announcing that, and they should up having a kid. But here's the ending: is that that Jean Grey, the actual Jean Grey, comes through the door. And spoiler, if you don't want to hear this, leave now. But this is where Mr. Sinister comes into play. Because if you guys don't know, Mr. Sinister is the one who created the clone of Jean Grey. And in the comic books, it's kind of crazy, right? So once Cyclops finds out that the girl that he had a baby with is a clone, he basically just ditches Jean Grey and her son, or he ditches the clone of Jean Grey and like her son. and goes and he gets back with the other Jean Grey. So yeah, this is going to be at 3 a.m. This is going to be a very interesting episode. So yeah.
So yeah, the other thing that what was I going to say is so theory time, or should I save that? You know what my theory is? Should I save it? Let's talk X-Men.
Which one?
I'm just going to throw it out if I'm going to have to say it.
So throw it out.
Theory. Listen, Brad Winderbaum, who is the head of streaming at Disney Plus, I forget exactly what his comment was, but they're really happy with the success of X-Men 97.
Wait. Is this Spider-Man animated?
It's part of it, but it's not the whole thing. Okay,
yeah, because that is on the docket, so it's all good. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, because I'm already almost there. So anyway, the theory is of mine, and I saw other people say it, but I came up with this theory on my own before I saw anyone say it. It's possible someone had this theory before me and posted on the internet. However, it was at least my own original thought that was on.
It's all yours, man. You take it. Run with it. All yours.
Yeah. So basically, I think that they are obviously scaling back on MCU content as Disney Plus original series. They don't want to do the MCU shows anymore. And X-Men 97 is obviously not part of the MCU. My theory is that they are going to build out an animated universe on Disney Plus, and we're going to get Spider-Man back, which I know Hungry Almighty commented, but we're not just going to get Spider-Man. We're going to get other characters also. Like we could get Iron Man, the Fantastic Four, and all those shows, Silver Surfer, and maybe even some new ones. And it makes sense because if they're not going to do the, as many, at least, MCU shows, they need to provide new, fresh, original content for subscribers. And the animated shows are a much lower budget to make. People love them. They're obviously critically acclaimed at this point. Everyone's obsessed with it. Why not? So I just think all the stars are aligned for it to happen. And I think we're going to see it. And I think the next one we're going to see is Spider-Man.
Slav, you need to watch X-Men, bro. You're going to love it. Trust, bro.
Honestly, it's been a while since I watched the 90s X-Men show, and I watched it. I wasn't as into it as I was Spider-Man or anything like that, but I know a lot of people said you don't need to watch it, but I'm kind of a completionist. I'm going to want to watch that before I watch this, so I'll get around to it. I got a busy life, guys. I got a busy life. I got to look. House of Dragons coming back in a few months, so I gotta.
Bro. So we have another channel called Fantasy Cuts. We're gonna have to have you on there, bro. I actually do. I have the book on me right now. Do I? Hold on. Give me 1 second, bro. 1 second. Hold on, brother. Just read this for the second time.
Oh, jeez.
Just read for the second time, dude. George R. Martin, if you don't finish this book, bro, I'm knocking on your door and we're fighting. Okay. Bro, he's been talking about finishing this book for the past 2 decades, bro. Anyways,
I don't even like Game of Thrones, but George, you better finish the book because my boy said
bro, he's old, dude. Like if he, God forbid, if this dude yeets out, bro, then the book's not done, bro. People are gonna riot. Anyways, okay. Back to the regular topic. Okay, so Slav, I know you said this, bro. Would be nice to see them actually get the X-Men into the MCU. But brother, I 100% agree with you, man, because I do, and I'm in this nerd group chat, and they were all kind of talking about maybe the MCU should have taken a break after Endgame, and they could have worked the Fantastic Four and the X-Men into the MCU without using the multiverse, which I am starting to kind of come around to now. I do think that Kevin Feige waited too long to bring in the X-Men, and as I'm reading Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I even watched the freaking stupid show on freaking CW, and I watched the animated movies, it feels to me that Kevin Feige is trying to steal what DC does with their multiverse, and he's trying to copy that into the MCU instead of actually just using either
The
the way that
Hickman story
Marvel.
leading into Secret Wars.
Yes, exactly. He's not trying to use the Hickman story, but it seems like Feige might have had an ego moment and said, "F it, I want to do it my way." And I think he's kind of eating that trash. And I think that he's kind of shifting back, at least from what all of the news is saying. But yeah, so I definitely agree, and I think that Feige's ego might have been in the way for him to actually do it right, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, and I know it was tough because in 2019 the Fox merger wasn't yet completed. I think that was right around when it started happening, and it would have been tough to do. But I always said that they should have utilized the snap. I think the snap should have been utilized to have created the mutants or unlock the mutant gene, and they should have. It would have changed the story of the mutants. But I've always said that I think we're in the 21st century now, and it's really hard to utilize like the Magneto story of being a Jew that suffered in the Holocaust at this point in time because he's going to be like how old he is. Being in the year 2024, it's hard to utilize that story. You're going to have to shift and bring that closer to today. And I've always liked the idea of going with the civil rights movement. I've always thought that that's a great idea to adjust that and shift it to the civil rights movement. And I thought utilizing the snap and that changing the course of history and unlocking the mutant gene and doing something, I think would have been a really cool idea to do. But like you said, I think Kevin Feige had this moment where he's like, no, I'm going to do it my way. And like you said, the Crisis on Infinite Earths how they did it on CW, even though it was terrible. I think what they're going to do is, and we've heard tidbits of it with the Deadpool leaks. Sorry for spoilers for anybody if you haven't heard these leaks, but apparently they're going to be traversing the multiverse in this movie and saving specific people in these different universes who hold the fabric of each universe together. There's going to be supposedly one person in each universe who is like the
Anchor.
key to the anchor to each universe, and eventually that's supposedly going to lead to Secret War, which would then be how everything gets brought together, how on Crisis on Infinite Earth, how everything got brought together when everything was collided and brought to one. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, they just need to bring the X-Men in. It's just, that's all it is there is to it at this point.
Yes, sir, brother. You're right.
Two things. Number one, in defense of Feige not bringing the X-Men in sooner, I think that they would have struggled with the Infinity Saga if they had the X-Men in the mix too. I think it would have been all over the place. And
we were saying after though, bro.
Yeah, after the fact.
Oh, you're talking about like
after the Phase Saga was over. Yeah. Yeah.
Like after the first or even after the second snap, it wouldn't have mattered. Even making it the second snap.
Yeah. Okay. They could have done it then.
Yeah. And we understand. And look, Sony yanked Tom Holland Spider-Man. Rest in peace to Chadwick, man. Chadwick Boseman died as well. And they were supposed to be centers of Marvel. And the more and more I'm just thinking about it, man, maybe them just taking a 5-year break was probably the best option. To sit back, say, hey, let's let these deals kind of go over, let's let these deals settle in and let's go on a retreat and let's actually create how this is going to happen, but at the same time, I do understand from a business standpoint, Endgame is like one of the biggest grossing films ever. It was the biggest grossing film ever at the time. And I get you want to make more content, but it seemed like that's kind of coming to bite them in the butt, But like to bring us back to
they definitely wanted to ride the wave of that success, and they probably, if they break in time, they would have lost their hype, and they don't want to do
exactly. That. But to bring us back to theaters with Black freaking Widow, and I love that movie, but you're going to make a after Civil War film to be the first movie for us. Come back
did
to
you
theaters.
just say you liked that movie?
Black Widow was fire, bro. Black Widow was fire, bro.
Black Widow is fire. It just came out at the worst time.
Yeah. One of my favorite scores of all time. By the way,
did you watch the same movie I did? Did you see what they did to Taskmaster?
That was terrible.
That was bad. But if we're talking about the Yelena and the Red Guardian and all that, that was freaking awesome, bro. That whole thing was awesome. I loved it.
By the way, Marvel, if you're listening, You should make Taskmaster one of the big villains in the Spider-Man animated show when you bring it back.
That'll be fire. That'll be fire. Okay, now we're gonna answer these chats and then we're gonna get to some Blade stuff. Okay, so let's see where we at.
I don't even know who Sketch is, bro.
You don't know who Sketch is? Don't worry, bro. I'm gonna send you a bunch of clips. He's hilarious. Okay, I hope with the success of X-Men 97, we get a Spider-Man 98 continuation. The showrunner of that Spidey series says he's down. Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that. Says he's down to do it. Hunger Almighty, hold that thought. We are going to talk about that later on in the docket. Spider-Man, yep, okay. What's up? Got Chigs. Well, what's good, baby? Hope you're all right, bro. If I was Disney, this is what I would do with the animated universe: Spider-Man, X-Men, Avengers, Hulk, Fantastic Four, Black Panther. Fellas, do y'all agree?
Yeah, I mean, they could even go bigger than that. I mean, the thing with animation is you have unlimited resources. I mean, the cost is cheap. I mean, you're just getting voice actors essentially, and I mean, Madam Web could work there. I mean, you could do a crazy Madam Web animated series short. You could do a little. I mean, you could do so much of that. Yeah. So, I mean, why stop there? I mean, you can
do X-Men and Avengers at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you can do everything.
X-Men versus Avengers, right?
Why stop there? I think you can do everything.
Yep.
Chigs, what's good? We gotta talk, Chigs. We gotta get you on the show.
Facts. Does Henry Cavill lead as Wolverine if they start with the X-Men universe? I think he should be Wolverine. I do think Cyclops should be the lead, though.
Look, I think Henry Cavill needs to be a villain. If he's coming to the MCU, I think he needs to be a
Magneto?
Villain. I like that. That's one, but I'm more on the Doctor Doom side. I do like the Doctor Doom's idea for him, but
a lot of people think he's Magneto because now in the X-Men animated show he has silver long hair. So now that there's a bunch of Gerald long hair comparison,
I did think when I was watching it, I was like, he kind of looks like Henry Cavill.
He looks like Gerald, but yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, regardless, I think he should be a villain. I know the rumor of him playing a Wolverine. It is what it is. I don't think he'd work as Wolverine long term, but whatever. I like Cavill more than some people. But hey, whatever. We'll see.
Yeah. He is older, so Magneto would be a good character for him to age in, though. I definitely see what you're saying. And I would love him as Doom also. I think either of those roles are perfect for somebody like Cavill. Plus, he's doing Warhammer, so I'm pretty excited about him doing that too. All right, post Endgame, this is what should have happened. Take a break except for Spidey, obviously Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, and hashtag recast T'Challa and the new big three, or recast T'Challa, the new big three of the Avengers. Bring back Savage Hulk, bring F4 and X-Men.
Well, that was the plan. The plan was for Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and
Black Panther.
Black Panther were supposed to be the big three of the Avengers moving forward. Unfortunately, Boseman passed away. Nobody liked Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man deal was just all over the place. So, I mean, it's kind of what happened, unfortunately, how everything played out. And Doctor Strange, I don't think was ever supposed to be a big player. I don't think that was ever the plan. He was just kind of supposed to be there. I mean, he's always supposed to be around, but
he has important roles in the bigger movies. But I agree, he was never going to be like
a Spider-Man,
a Tony Stark or a Captain America. Like he wasn't going to be one of them. But the Savage Hulk we're never going to get. So I think you guys got to just get that out of your mind. I think everybody needs to come to that realization that we're never going to get the Hulk. We're never going to get the Edward Norton Hulk again, ever. So just
for sure. I'm crying. You crack me up, Slab. I love it. The problem and downfall is there needs to be more animated shows instead of making everything live action. Do you guys agree with that?
I don't think that Marvel is. I don't think they intend to make animation part of the MCU.
Yeah,
it might solve some problems, but it's not the brand.
Yeah, I don't think they do enough animation. That's my opinion. All right, now let's get to Blade. Okay, all right. So, Mr. Mahershala Ali. Okay, so it says Blade will reportedly be an origin story for both Mahershala Ali's Blade and the Ebony Blade. Many of its elements will be set in the past, similar to how the structure of Eternals was handled. That was from the Cosmic Circus. So if you don't know what the ebony blade is, that is Black Knight's sword. Okay, it is basically just, to make it long story short, it's just a magical sword. And so, when they are talking about many of the elements being set in the past, similar to how the structure of the Eternals is, my guess, and just to give you guys context, is that they are most likely going to start really far back in the past and kind of like work their way up to a modern time. So, how do you guys feel about that possible rumor?
I don't think this movie's happening. No, I've been on the record to say I'm not a big fan of the idea of Mahershala Ali being Blade. So if I get past that, look, I just want a Blade movie at this point. I don't really care what they do. I just want it to be good. We haven't had a good Blade movie in 20 years now. I mean, at this point, all these rumors, all of these different leaks that we've heard from it focusing on his daughter and 3 women instead of Blade to this now. I mean, at this point, what can we believe? I think it does need to we need to have some input on the Ebony Blade just because of what happened at the end of Eternals. I think there needs to be some connection to Eternals because of what happened at the mid-credit scenes of Eternals. But I just want, if they're going to make a Blade movie, it needs to be about Blade. It needs to be about who he is. It needs to dabble in the occult in some form or fashion, about the underbelly of the MCU, and there's vampires in the MCU. I mean, that's exciting. That's cool. That's what it needs to be. It doesn't need to be anything but that. Explain why there's vampires in the MCU. Explain that there's a vampire hunter in the MCU and make it a vampire movie. That's what they need to do. Plain and simple. That's it.
You know, I want to agree with you. And to some degree I do. But I don't want them to go so far back in time with Blade, just because, like, first of all, Blade is New York, right? I'm pretty sure Blade's in New York City, not LA. Okay, so on that note, like, I want to see a modern looking New York City. Like, that to me was one of the cool parts about the Blade movies with Wesley Snipes. I don't want to see some ancient gothic vampire movie. So I would like to see something more in the recent city. Otherwise, other than that, I don't really care what they do. I just hope the movie's good. As far as Mahershala Ali, you know, in the beginning, it started to seem like the guy really cares that the movie's good and he's very involved. And now he's just starting to seem like a brat. And he seems to be the guy complaining about everything going on. Nothing's good enough for him. And I'm starting to think they should have went with someone else.
Yeah. So I want Blade to be all over the world. I don't really want a New York story. There's a lot of characters in New York. Why the hell do I want this dude in New York?
Yeah, I'm a New Yorker, so I might be a little biased.
Yeah, for sure. So I would like a more of an ancient story, you know, because I'm a lore guy, so you know I like that stuff.
Yeah,
I would love to get like an ancient story, and I would love that to kind of link to, you know, kind of a more modern time. And I think that introducing Black Knight and telling his story through Blade 1 is a perfect way to bring him on as a character and to introduce the Midnight Sun stuff and all of that jazz. So I think that there's a lot of potential there. The only question that I have is, like, you know, like, because I think Mahershala Ali is going to do a great job. I think Mahershala Ali is a great actor, and the question I have is, like, what is this going to build up to, you know? And like, what is the future for Mahershala Ali's Blade? Like, because to me, this feels like a one-off movie. Not going to lie to you guys. And to be honest, if you're going to do a one-off Blade movie, just do it like Werewolf by Night and give me a special do a freaking Marvel Disney Plus special and and just call it a day. I really hope that this is linked to something else, and that's how I personally feel, man. But I mean, I think this plot is cool. I mean, I think the past coming to the modern times is cool. We'll just have to see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. My excitement for Blade has gone down because there's just been so many rumors and changes, and it's not like exciting me. Like versus like where like Spider-Man's getting a lot of rumors, you know what I mean? And it gets me hyped up to see that, With Blade is not like I don't know how to explain. It's just not I'm not really feeling it. So yeah. All right. He said we'll never get Savage Hawk, but then why would Disney buy the rights to make a solo? Did they buy the solo rights?
I don't think so. I just looked it up. I didn't see.
I know they were inquiring on it from buying it from Universal. I'm not sure if Universal sold it though.
They just have Universal just has the distribution rights. They don't have Marvel can make the movie. They just can't distribute it. It has to be Universal. So
yeah, and that's the reason why Feige won't do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. So Boyd Holbrook rumored to play Two-Face in the Batman 2. So. This was going all over X. I think yesterday. That was I think that's when I posted it. Did I say Brian or Boyd? I said
Boyd.
Boyd, right? Yeah, Boyd Holbrook. Have you guys heard of Boyd Holbrook?
Yeah, he was in the latest Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm. How did you like his acting in that?
I mean, he was forgettable. He was more noticeable in Logan, if I remember correctly. Because he was actually one of the main lackeys that was going after Logan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I remember him from Narcos. I remember he was in Narcos when I watched it. He was in Predator 2. And then I freaking wasted my life and watched Sandman. He was in that too.
That was a waste of time.
Yeah, the Sandman.
People were acting like it was so good. It really was not.
It was kind of mid. I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of mid. So I think Boyd would be a good role, and I see the vision. But the real question that I want to ask you guys is, what role do you guys see Two-Face playing in the Batman 2 plot? Do you think they're going to go with the origin story of Harvey Dent, or do you think we're going to go right into the film where Harvey Dent is already Two-Face and he's a villain similar to I think it's not Batman Forever, right? Is it Batman Forever or Batman and Robin?
It was Batman Forever that he was in.
Yeah. Or by the way, great Batman film. Or is it similar to Slav? We're here, baby. We're here. Or man, I love that movie. Or is it similar to Batman Forever, where we have a Batman with already established bad guys?
I'm kind of torn on the Two-Face thing because I don't want this. Now that you're gonna have Joker and you're gonna have Two-Face, it's gonna be it sounds like a little close to the Dark Knight. And while obviously I love that movie, I'd like to see something newer and fresh. And if you're going to have Harvey Dent Two-Face in the movie, I actually think they might be better off to just have him as Harvey Dent and maybe have him become Two-Face at the end of the movie, but you don't really see him as Two-Face until the third movie. But the other thing is Two-Face is not a big bad. He's just not. So I also don't like the idea of having the origin at the very end of the movie to hype him up as the villain in the third movie when he shouldn't be the big bad getting that kind of hype anyway.
So is there even a script yet? I mean, how are they going to cast somebody if there's no script? But
it isn't done yet.
Yeah, if so, I can't. I don't imagine that they actually cast anybody. But if they're looking for somebody like him for a Harvey Dent, and if Harvey Dent's going to be in it, what I remember from the Batman, could they will we get a Two-Face? Maybe it'll just be Harvey Dent. Maybe he will just be Harvey Dent in this movie, and we don't see Two-Face at all. Maybe it'll be something that happens at the end of the movie and setting up that we see a Two-Face later on, if we get more. Again, we don't know what we're going to get with this universe. We don't know if we're going to get more than the Batman 2. I think a lot really hinges on what's going on with James Gunn and the DCU, because that's number one for Warner Brothers and DC Studios is the DCU. I think if they can push aside and get rid of this whole Batman franchise and get rid of it and save some money and not spend money on it, I think they'd rather do that. So, I mean, could we see a Two-Face in this movie? Sure. But I honestly, look, I wasn't a fan of the first Batman. This is the first Batman movie that I fell asleep in the theater watching it. Like, I was bored out of my mind with this movie. And I literally, I don't know.
Don't change those movie debates now.
So you fell asleep. You fell asleep during the greatest Batman movie of all time. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. By the way, it's not the Batman, Jerry. It's not the Batman. You're going to be surprised, bro. I'm telling you. You're going to be shocked.
I know the Batman is not the greatest Batman movie of all time.
That's not what I was saying, bro. That's
it's Batman and Robin.
He loves Batman Forever. He loves it.
Oh, that's my movie, dude. Bro. Batman Forever is my jam.
I don't think I just don't think there's enough information for the Batman 2 to know what we're gonna get. No script, no nothing. I mean, we have literally nothing on this movie. So could we get a Harvey Dent? Sure. I would lean more towards just having Harvey Dent and no Two-Face at this point, because there's been how many rumors already that we're going to have Hush in this movie. Then there was rumors that we were going to get Clayface. Then there was rumors that it's going to be the Joker. It's like every week it's a new rumor. Yeah, exactly.
Someone, by the way, on X got so mad at me the other day for saying Mr. Freeze is boring. People like, yo,
he hates Freeze, man.
If Mr. Freeze were a good villain,
watch Heart of Ice, Batman the Animated Series.
I did as a kid, and that's what everyone says. But like, if he were a good villain, the writers would use him more in the comics. But they don't.
Bro, Arnold is better than Heath, bro. What are we talking about?
Yeah. I'm Mr. Freeze.
Oh God. All right. Let's okay, now you guys can go up. Okay, so let me read this real quick. Hold on. Where's my docket?
Hey, Hungry Almighty did ask this question here. I do want to point that
go for it.
For sure, bro.
He has, this may sound stupid, but what is distribution rights? So there's differences in distribution rights and production rights and stuff like that when it comes to films. So a studio can have distribution rights, and that is basically who distributes the film. Basically, what's the studio that actually puts the film in theaters? So takes it to a theater and gives it to a theater to, I'm putting this as simply as possible, takes it to a theater and says, hey, put this on your movie screen. So that is a studio to do that and sells it. Exactly. But then there's also studios who make the movie. So sometimes a movie will have multiple studios like that. So you'll have a studio who makes the movie, and then you'll have a studio who distributes the film. So in the case with the Hulk, right now, Marvel Studio owns the rights to make a Hulk movie, but Universal owns the rights to sell the movie and take it to a theater and say, hey, put this up. And the problem is, typically the distributing studio makes more money when selling the movie. So that's why Marvel Studios doesn't make a Hulk film, because they would get less money in return for making that movie despite putting more money into it. So that's kind of the reason behind that. That's what the whole thing is.
Yep. I know the Batman one is influenced by Long Halloween, but what if the trilogy is a loose adaptation of Long Halloween and Dark Victory? Will be very interesting.
So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that, first of all, when the Batman Part 1 was coming out in theaters, DC, which I appreciate it when they do this, but DC put out a list of comics that were used to inspire the Batman. And there were like 8 comics on there, and one of them was The Long Halloween. Another one was Ego, and it's called like Ego and Short Tales. I really think that you could throw out not saying the other comics weren't good, like Year One was on there, but I think that for the Batman Part One, it was like Batman was in the mental state of Batman in Ego, and the story was like through and through Long Halloween.
Mhm.
But because the story was Long Halloween, I don't think that that's an indication that they're going to do, you know, Dark Victory and what's the third one called? I know there's another one. Whatever, but you know, there's like a third one in that series. I don't think that's the route they're taking. I think that they're going to do something different for the second one, and that remains to be seen. And I could be wrong, but I'd be willing to bet that I'm right. And I just think that these guys are smart guys. They're creative, and you know, we're not dealing with like DC animation type artists. We're dealing with like the creme de la creme, and I think that they're going to give us something fresher and a little more innovative in terms of comic book movie storytelling.
100%, brother. 100%. But Two-Face was the main villain of the anime Long Halloween movie, even though someone like Joker was in the movie as a side villain. It's possible. It's possible.
You know, but most of the story, I mean, it was very much Long Halloween. And that's the other thing, by the way. Like, the Batman and Infinity War / Endgame are perfect examples of the way comic book movies take inspiration and keep the structure of the story, but change things. And don't get this confused with going against comic book accuracy. When people talk about the value and caring about comic book accuracy, they're talking about being faithful to the characters. They're not necessarily saying the stories need to be adapted line by line and exactly. You know, obviously in Infinity Gauntlet, you know, it was Adam Warlock who defeated Thanos and, you know, saved the day. Obviously, as Unreal Mighty, as you mentioned, in the Batman, you know, in Long Halloween, you know, it really was Two-Face, and Two-Face wasn't even in the Batman. But you know, this is how comic book movies take their inspiration. An example of something that's a direct adaptation is, you know, you could look at the DC animated universe and something like The Dark Knight Returns or Year One. I mean, those are pretty much direct adaptations.
All right, Comic Cuts, you're cooking, bro. You're cooking right now. How do you fall asleep during the Batman? It didn't even feel like, bro, exactly, bro. The Batman was so amazing, bro. I can't believe you fell asleep, bro. That's wild, bro.
I've heard a couple of people say that. I loved it, but I have heard people say that.
That hurt my heart, bro. I ain't gonna lie, but,
like,
it's all good.
I've admitted I need to try it again. I do need to. Like, I haven't actually sat down to try and watch it again since I sat in the theater and fell asleep. But I've seen bits and pieces of it since then. Only because I fell asleep, so I was like, I missed like the middle of it, so I got to watch it again. So you know, like I watched the middle of it, then I watched the end again. I got to sit down and try it again. I do
for sure, bro. All right, let's talk about the Spider-Man anime series. Okay, it says Marvel Studios is reportedly tossing around the idea of making more seasons of Spider-Man the animated series. Marvel is also said to be having talks about exploring the 90s animated universe, which will most likely be explored through X-Men 97. For you 90s babies, I'm 99, so I don't count. How do you guys feel about, you know, the idea of them bringing back Spider-Man the animated series and other shows too?
I'll let Slab take this one because he's obviously a big fan of this.
Oh no, I think it'd be excellent. I'd be all for it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd be a little worried about what direction it would take it in. I know that it did end on a cliffhanger, but that was kind of the thing back then. I mean, all those shows back, even like the Justice League, you know, the Batman the animated series, all that stuff kind of ended on, you know, not necessarily a cliffhanger, but you never got some finality to those shows. So I'd be a little concerned on how they would take it, what direction they would take it in. I have not watched X-Men 97, so I don't have anything to base off of how they've handled that. Besides all the hype that everybody's giving it right now, I would say this: as long as they handled it with care. Look, here's the thing. The funny thing about the Spider-Man the animated series back then was there was a few things they couldn't do. They couldn't show blood, and things like Morbius couldn't be a vampire to suck blood. He had to take plasma from his hands. So when he would attack somebody, he would suck
That's wild.
plasma
Yeah.
out of people's bodies from his hands, which they kind of adapted that even into the Morbius movie. God, that movie was terrible. Anyways, but the things like that, I would hope they would update and change to being more proper with the the actual characterizations of how they are in the comics. But I'm all for it. Like I said before, why stop there? If you create a universe like this, if you're going to build off of X-Men, and because even that Spider-Man and these X-Men crossed over in the 90s.
Right.
They crossed over.
By the way,
there was an Iron Man show. There was an Iron Man show even back then that crossed over with Spider-Man. You can just do that. Build out. Just don't stop there. Just make it its own little universe. Why not?
So I want to get this right. I should have wrote it down, but there is an article going around, and basically X-Men 97 executive producer Brad Winderbaum, who I mentioned before, teased a lot of fun cameos from the animated series and other 90s Marvel animated shows. So it's very likely we're going to see Spider-Man in this X-Men 97 series. And I hope they do the Spider-Man show. And, for my own nostalgia, as much as I would love the Spider-Man animated show to be in the same style as it was in the 90s, if you are going to build out this universe, put some innovation into the animation. Make it up to par with the animations that we're getting in 2024 and of modern day. If you want to do one or two or others in this, 90s animation style, I get it. But I think it would be really cool if they build out this animated universe and some of the other shows were, more modernly animated. But I hope we see Spider-Man. I don't think Brad would have said that if we're not going to see, at least one of the other characters. I'm willing to bet it's Spider-Man. Obviously, Spider-Man's the money maker, and that's what this is all about. So, let's listen. If you see Spider-Man in X-Men 97, remember, you heard it here first.
Okay, let's get it. I mean, I agree with all you guys. I think this is a great decision. I hope they take it in the right direction. And I mean, the more content, the better. Hungry Almighty said, Spider-Man the animated series is my favorite version of the character outside of the comics. It still saddens me that we never got closure ending. I agree. And I will also say, like, Spider-Man the animated series is what got me into Madam Web and to like learning more about Spider-Man. So, I mean, I hope that they have like that deep lore element of Spider-Man where like it's kind of bigger than him at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The X-Men 97 trailer had a Spider-Man Easter egg with the yes, and it was also in the show too, where you see I think they mentioned the Daily Bugle as well, and there was like a photo with what was it, Peter and what's his name, Eddie Brock. It's Eddie Brock, and Eddie Brock. Okay, now this is our last topic of the night, and then we're gonna hit some. We're gonna do some which is better stuff. So Captain America: Brave New World drama. So obviously we're gonna end it with some negativity because this is that kind of podcast. I'm kidding. So basically, what happened with Captain America: Brave New World is number one, the test screenings are terrible. Not number one. That's the test screens are really bad. And then the second thing that I want you guys to talk about it, I already went off about it on TikTok, so I'll let you guys keep the floor here. Anthony Mackie confirmed that Sebastian Stan and Daniel Bruhl won't appear in Captain America: Brave New World. If you guys don't know, Sebastian Stan is Bucky, Daniel Bruhl is Zemo, and he said when they decided to go back to the movies, or he said this. Sorry, this is what Anthony Mackie said, when they decided to go back to the movies, it is what it is. But I don't have my friends anymore, so it kind of dampens it a little bit. Basically, just referring to the fact that they're not doing this. They're most likely filming Thunderbolts because Thunderbolts is filming at the moment too. So my guess is that they're going to. Well, we already know that Sebastian Stan is filming Thunderbolts, but Daniel Bruhl is most likely in Thunderbolts as well as Zemo. So how do you guys feel about Captain America Brave New World and the test screening still being bad after they reshot it? And how do you guys also feel about Bucky? I mean, and if you guys care about Zemo being in this film, how do you care about them not being in this film?
You know, first of all, for a while I have been thinking like there should be less characters in this movie in terms of significant characters because I really think they need to make this movie. This movie needs to be able to stand on the shoulders of Anthony Mackie and Sam Wilson and Sam Wilson alone because they need to establish him as the new Captain America and B sell him as Captain America to audiences, which basically is established. But anyway, but now with all the problems that this movie has been having, I think they should. I'm starting to think it might be better if Bucky and Zemo or other characters of that sort were in it because it's we when we started talking about this movie, Stevie and I were both you know expecting this movie to be an absolute banger, like Winter Soldier level banger. And the more we hear about it, it just sounds like a train wreck. So,
Well, it's par for the course if you really think about it lately with Marvel. I mean, this movie was originally going to be called New World Order, if I'm not mistaken. They've changed, or no, wasn't it Serpent Society? Who knows at this point? I mean, it was going to be called something different.
New World Order was the title of
Yeah.
the movie at one point, which I agree was horrible.
And then Serpent Society was supposed to be in it as well. And they took all that out. I mean, Seth Rollins, if you're a WWE fan, Seth Rollins was going to be in this movie, which I was all for checking out, seeing him act in this film. But, Kevin Feige's, has this idea, and recently more so has had this idea that with technology, you film it and we can fix it in post with all this, with all the technology we have. And that's what they keep trying to do lately. And as you notice, it's not working. It hasn't been working, and look at the last 4 years of Marvel projects. It's not working. Sure, you get a good one here and there, but I think the good ones have been good because, well, look at Spider-Man. That was good more so because of nostalgia bait. I mean, No Way Home was good. It had some good aspects to it, but more so because of nostalgia. A lot of these projects just aren't living up to what they should be. So am I shocked that there's problems with it? Not at all. Am I mad that we're not going to see Bucky in it? No. I mean, we've had plenty of Bucky over the last 10 years of Marvel. I mean, do I want to see more of him? I think Sebastian Stan's a decent actor, and I think that he should have a decent run as a hero. I don't think we've seen him enough as a hero, but then again, we saw him and Sam Wilson in an entire series, which actually was one of the better Marvel projects that have come out recently. But we saw an entire series with him and Sam. So I think it's a good time to have Sam Wilson establish him by himself as Captain America at this point. But if the movie sucks, it's not doing any favors to Sam Wilson. It's not doing any favors to the role of Captain America.
Yeah.
And Daniel Bruhl, I mean, he's a cool actor, but Baron Zemo doesn't need to be constantly around. Again, I think we're going to see him in Thunderbolts, which is fine. But he doesn't have to be around. He's not Sam Wilson's enemy. Baron Zemo is technically in the comics a Steve Rogers enemy. So he's not a Sam Wilson enemy, so he doesn't need to be there either.
Cook, bro. You're cooking.
Yeah.
I mean,
As I said, I agree with everything you guys said. I think the reason why Bucky's not in it is obviously because there's a new Falcon, so they're trying to build that relationship with them two, and it
That's
probably
right.
would have been overshadowed by having Bucky in the film. So, it's upsetting, but I get it. Like, I get it. Yeah, we'll just have to see the movie, man. That's kind of where I'm at. We'll just have to see the movie. Wakanda
Hopefully
giving him, yeah. I hope Wakanda doesn't give him another vibranium suit. Like, just come on, just get, please. Enough of that.
I'm over vibranium. I'm over vibranium. I'm over nanotech. Enough of both of that stuff.
Yeah, give him an adamantium suit.
Yeah.
Give him something cool, man. So yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens, bro. We'll just have to see what happens. All right. So now we are getting to the fun segment, which is better. So, Jerry and Slav, are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. So this first movie is which movie is better? Okay. So the first is the Man of Steel and BVS.
Oh, I was wondering what those pictures were doing.
And so what you have to do is you have to say which one you think is better. You have to explain why, and if you disagree, if you guys do not agree, you also are able to debate or give your point more. So Jerry, which movie do you think is the better one and why?
I think this is an easy one. I would go with Batman vs Superman. Definitely better. I loved the government's role in the movie. I love the espionage of Bruce Wayne at Lex Luthor's house, and I thought that I thought Ben Affleck was amazing as a Batman too, and we got to see that in Batman vs Superman. So, and we still got Superman, so it was best of both worlds. I would go with Batman vs Superman, easy.
All right, Man of Steel. Man of Steel is the quintessential superhero origin movie. It is. I mean, I know it gets a lot of crap for the destruction at the end of the movie, but come on, man. This movie is without a doubt the best origin superhero film there's ever been. There isn't a better origin movie. And not to mention that you get an amazing score from Hans Zimmer. It is quite possibly one of the best scores that Hans Zimmer has ever created. Not only that, but the way that Christopher Nolan and David Goyer, is that his name? Yeah. And Zack Snyder were able to create this environment and making you feel relatable to an alien like Superman, somebody who is this all-powerful being. You actually feel like you can relate to him, like you're an outcast. You understand what he's feeling in this movie. Just the cinematography, the way that he used the shaky cam in this is without a doubt, number one, Zack Snyder's best film to date. Number two, it is the best written film that he ever made. Number three, it is the best action that he's ever done in a movie. There's nothing like this. Yes, there are some issues with this film. Absolutely. There's issues with every film. No film is perfect. But to add to the religious symbolism in this movie, some of it is absolutely on the nose. I get that. But I tell you what, this movie hits it on every level when you talk about a superhero origin film and a Superman origin film.
I'm shocked. Wow. Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I didn't know which way you were going to go, but I know you're a big Snyder guy. So, and it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the big Snyder fans say Man of Steel is the best Snyder movie. But the one thing I got to press you on is Man of Steel, the best origin movie of all time. Bro, that is easily Batman Begins.
No, definitely not
Iron
that.
Man. That
definitely
or
not
Iron
Batman
Man.
Begins.
It's Batman Begins or Iron Man.
Sorry, no. Look. Batman Begins has a lot of downtime in it. Look, I love Batman Begins. I think it's the best of the Nolan trilogy. Agreed. But it has a lot of downtime in it, and this movie, Man of Steel, just it delivers. It's moving. It's constantly moving. There's a reason. Almost every single scene has a reason for it to be there, and it doesn't let up. And come on, the first flight that he has is just phenomenal. Like
that team was incredible, but
it's just phenomenal.
Batman vs Superman was like super cool too, and
And
the
here's the thing,
Batman, the warehouse scene, the Batmobile. I will say, I don't think, and I know, like, I don't think that, and Zack Snyder is like amazing with visuals. The one thing I don't think he nailed in Batman vs Superman was the Dark Knight Returns armored suit. Like, I actually don't think it looked good.
Look, Batman v Superman, I enjoy to a certain point. I do like the aesthetic, the feel, the cinematography. But you mentioned the Batmobile scene specifically. Why the hell would he shoot a tracker on the truck and then wreck his Batmobile through the truck that he just put a tracker on, basically risking removing the tracker from said truck? Makes no sense at all.
Yeah,
like, there's some decisions.
Martha.
There's some decisions with that movie that just don't make a lot of sense. But again, no movie is perfect. That movie is definitely a little too long. There's definitely some decisions that it should have been more thought out. Definitely, Doomsday's design was not great. The idea behind Lex Luthor. Look, I do like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, but the decision to let him play it that way was not the smartest.
Yeah, I think that might be actually one of Snyder's worst decisions of all.
Yeah. So again, that's why again, Batman v Superman. I don't think it deserves all the hate that it gets, but when you're pitting these two against each other, you have to go Man of Steel.
Okay.
Agree to disagree.
All right. Hungry Almighty said, Man of Steel easily. There are still problems with Man of Steel, but what BVV soups? The moment I saw Batman murder people and found out the dead Robin is Dick Grayson, I was done. Man of Steel had problems, but those are problems that can be fixed in a sequel. Bat versus Soups, on the other hand, caused so much damage that we're in this whole reboot DCU thing. BVS, I do think is a worse movie. I do think BVS is kind of what caused this split in DC fandom as well. Zack Snyder that movie is responsible for a lot. But I can tolerate Man of Steel more than BVS. So I would say Man of Steel is better. Okay, next thing, my guys. So which movie, now think about this. Which movie is a better? This is hard. This is a hard one. Which movie is a better sequel? Which movie is a better sequel? The Dark Knight or Captain America: The Winter Soldier? And this is hard, dude. This is hard.
So not a better movie, but a better sequel.
Yes, a better sequel. Not what is the best movie. Now, I think The Winter Soldier is a better movie than Dark Knight, my personal opinion. But what movie is a better sequel?
I'll go first since you went first last time.
Okay.
I'm going with Captain America: The Winter Soldier as a better sequel. And this is why, because I think that it continued the story of Captain America better than The Dark Knight continued the story of Batman. From Batman Begins, I think that it built on the lore of Captain America's story and the universe better. You felt something. You felt a bigger connection to Steve Rogers. You through Captain America: The Winter Soldier, by the end of that movie, you truly feel the pain that Steve Rogers feels at the end of that movie. And you're sitting there like, I understand after watching that first movie, understanding that he lost his best friend. And then this movie, realizing that his best friend could be back, but, well, not really. Losing his best friend yet again, like, you feel that pain. But you take a look at The Dark Knight, and it's just Batman. He lost Rachel. Okay. He can't have Rachel at the end of the first one. Okay. Still can't have Rachel at the end of the second one. Oh, okay.
They all are funny.
Yeah, well, Rachel. Oh, well. Oh, well.
No, and I'm going to say The Dark Knight. And I'm going to say The Dark Knight because you really saw how much Bruce Wayne had to sacrifice for his mission as Batman. he gave up his, rich playboy lifestyle. He lost Rachel. He still sacrificed it all at the end as Batman, not being the hero Gotham deserves, but being the hero Gotham needs. And at the very end, he goes off in the darkness. Like, that was a legendary sequel.
Look, let's face it, it's basically
this is the sequel that everyone freaked out over. Everyone went to the movies for, and it built on how can you say it's not the better sequel? It built on who Batman is as a character at its core from the first one, at the ending of the first one, when he was like, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. And then at the, almost like poetic justice at the end of this movie. Also, to throw on top at the end of the Dark Knight, when he beat the Joker at the Joker's own game. Also, not to mention the fucking sonar in that scene, but when he was like, what did he say? See, not everyone's as twisted as you are. You thought they would press the button, but they didn't. I forget the exact line, but
because the people of Gotham beat the Joker, not the Batman. Not only that, he was so heartbroken from Rachel, he wasn't like, I'm done being Batman. Because we see the next movie, he's not Batman anymore. He's like, screw it. At least Steve Rogers,
we're not talking about
I gotta be Captain America even harder now. Like,
we're not talking about the Dark Knight Rises, though. That's a whole other story.
Captain America was more Batman than Batman himself in his own film.
That is crazy. You just want to rip on the Dark Knight.
I'm serious. He was.
No. Stevie's comments are straight out of him having an agenda.
Bro,
he has an agenda.
Look at the boat scene.
Nah,
bro. The boat scene is better than anything I've seen.
I bet you if you Google the best sequel of all time, I bet you the Dark Knight pops up.
Oh. All right. So obviously you guys are torn, okay?
Yeah.
Obviously you guys know where I'm picking. Don't even ask, bro.
Yeah.
Screw that. Oh, Hungry Almighty agree. Thank you. Cap did for more like
Stevie
Batman.
would pick, and Stevie would say Toy Story 2 is a better sequel.
Here's the tiebreaker. All right, here's the tiebreaker. All right, you got to pick. You got Maggie Gyllenhaal, Scarlett Johansson. There's your pick. Right there.
Get out of here.
Yeah, Jake, I love you, man. I'm not gonna say it, bro. She was No. My dad, I remember we saw it. He said she was like, what was it? Was that lady Nanny McPhee? I think that's her name. Nanny McPhee is what my dad said when we first saw that. I was like, dude. All right. All right. Next one. Okay. Which movie is better? Oh my God. I put the wrong X-Men movie. I meant to do X-Men First Class. Okay. So we're going to act like that is X-Men First Class. I'm sorry, guys. Which origin movie is better? X-Men First Class or the Fantastic Four?
Whose turn is it to go first?
You.
Oh, X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class is an awesome movie. It's actually my favorite X-Men movie. It was awesome to see first of all, Magneto hunting down the Nazis was epic. What else did I really enjoy in that movie? Charles Xavier, the missile crisis, the scene on the beach. Also going back to what I said earlier about like Magneto, he always has a reason that stops and makes you think for everything he does. And that movie is a prime example. I happen to think the Fantastic Four gets hated on more than it should. I enjoyed that movie when it came out. And it's a decent movie. But X-Men First Class is like unreal. So I don't even think I don't even think this is a fair choice. I think one of them is far superior to the other one. But what do you think, Slav?
I got to go with First Class. I mean, Fantastic Four was a fun movie for when it came out in 2003, 2004,
something like that.
But First Class, I mean, that took X-Men more serious than the original 3 X-Men movies did. That was them saying, look, we understand where the comic book movie genre is headed. We know that this is where we have to take X-Men. And that's what they decided to do with it. It was just a smart move on them. Fassbender was phenomenal in the role as Magneto. You have McAvoy as Professor X, which was fantastic. I mean, the cast, Jennifer Lawrence, before she was Jennifer Lawrence, was great casting as well. It was just, they did a fantastic job. The only gripe that I really have with First Class is they killed an unkillable character. I mean, that was really the only gripe that I had.
Right.
Besides that, it was almost a perfect movie to a certain point. I mean, Man of Steel is still the better origin movie, but it was still a great film.
Yeah, I like the Fantastic Four more personally. But
what?
Yeah, to be honest,
that's crazy.
Okay, now there's a difference between saying you like something more and something's better than. I think First Class is a better movie than Fantastic Four, but me personally, like, I love that, like, the Fantastic Four, like, this is one of my favorite superhero films of all time. I love this movie, bro. So,
well, you were probably 4 when this movie came out, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but I grew up just watching all the time. So, like, my dad bought me it on a DVD, and I watched all the time. And Johnny Storm was like one of my favorite heroes growing up. So, because he had all the girls. You know what I mean? He was that dude. So, like, like Chris Evans for me was like, you know what I mean. And then when he became Cap, it was super weird. I'm like, yo, he was Johnny Storm, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, Fantastic Four was awesome. But both of these films were all right. We have 3 more.
Okay.
All right. Which solo film is better, Black Widow or Wonder Woman?
I guess I'll go first. Wonder Woman, hands down. Black Widow was terrible. Look, with the exception, first off, both of these movies suffer greatly from their third acts. Both of these films have terrible, terrible third acts. Terrible third acts. So let's just get that out of the way. Both of us can agree, right? We can agree they both have terrible third acts.
Yeah,
I agree.
But first off, Wonder Woman is just a phenomenal film up and down. I think even the beginning of that movie on Themyscira, Paradise Island, was great. You can tell, look, and get mad at me if you want, but you can tell Zack Snyder's influence on the fight choreography, the action sequences in this film. You could definitely tell his influence there, because he influenced. He was there. He helped Patty Jenkins with that. But the movie itself is just No Man's Land was a great scene, and I'm very happy for my daughters to be able to witness that scene. I know that my one daughter, taking her to see this movie, she loved it. She loved that movie. Black Widow, I don't think she's ever seen it. I don't think she cares to see it, because I mean, who cares? So I mean, come on. Black Widow, the Taskmaster. Come on, they screwed up. How do you screw up Taskmaster? I'm sorry. That is like the easiest character to make, and they screwed it up that badly.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna have to say Black Widow. I know a lot of people really loved Wonder Woman. I didn't enjoy it, but I will say, Black Widow, the action was awesome. I think Scarlett Johansson was awesome. I liked, even though I always wish they do more espionage, and they never really do, there was a bit of espionage in it. And we got the introduction of Yelena Belova. I thought David Harbour's Red Guardian was very entertaining. And also, like, when the movie started and they did that, I think it was Smells Like Teen Spirit, or it was some Nirvana cover that was really cool. But yeah, it went hard, and I think the movie like kind of pulls you in the beginning when they kind of pass the kids off, and the kids go into they go to like the Red Room training and all that. So I really like Black Widow. I think Black Widow is one of the most underrated comic book movies out there. Listen, and Wonder Woman, like, I it's interesting. I think Gal Gadot crushed it as Wonder Woman. I see a lot of people online say, which by the way, I think that's another big divisive aspect of the DCEU and the Snyderverse. A lot of people say they think she absolutely crushed it, and then there's a lot of people that think she's a bad actor, which is interesting because I feel like you don't really get that kind of division on an actor's performance. Like, it kind of seems unique to her, but I thought she was great. I like Chris Pine too, and I wish I could say I enjoyed Wonder Woman because I remember when it came out, everyone was hyping it up. I was super excited to see it, and then I just didn't even like it.
Wow.
Yeah, I am more of House Go ahead.
No, I don't know. Black Widow just didn't do it for me. Again, there were some comedic parts. I like David Harbour for sure, but Wonder Woman. I just think it was just better paced, better written. Again, with the exception of the third act, both of the films suffer from their third act.
Yeah,
but again, I think the overall film of Wonder Woman was just so much better. Gal Gadot, I think, if I were to pit the two of these movies together, look, Scarlett Johansson is a fantastic actress, and I think a much better actress than Gal Gadot. But when I look at these two films, Gal Gadot blows Scarlett Johansson out of the water in these two solo films. Now, if you put up Wonder Woman 84, I would have gone with Black Widow because Wonder Woman 84 was atrocious. Gal Gadot was terrible in that movie. But this first Wonder Woman, she did fantastic in, and I think it shows. I think she truly cared about this movie.
Yeah, Wonder Woman is definitely the better film. And I think it's because Gal Gadot has something to prove, and you can tell like when an actor is hungry and they actually put time into the character. And 84 was just like, this film's already successful. Let's just get something out type of deal. Wonder Woman, the first one, dude. I mean, as you said, the beginning of the film is literally perfect. I mean, come on, bro. The mascara, come on. I mean, come on. So yeah, I think it's good. I think Black Widow is fire. I love that film, but Gal Gadot, like, I fell in love with her while watching this film. The mannerisms of Wonder Woman is just insane. Anyways, okay, and maybe okay.
She is beautiful.
Yeah, dude. I mean, just insanity. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. Okay, here we go. I think this might be either a clean slide or divisive.
So what is it? Which one is better, or
which movie is better, and why?
Am I going first?
Yeah,
Jerry.
go ahead.
So I have to go with Spider-Man 3. I think Spider-Man 3. Listen, I actually like both of these movies, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the opening Spider-Man score in that one, I think is the best Spider-Man theme of all time. But I like Spider-Man 3. Like, number one, there's the Spider-Mans I really grew up with, and I love Tobey. I feel like the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. I think I tweeted this recently. I wrote the Raimi Spider-Man movies are timeless because they used a definitive Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is timeless. So listen, both of these movies try to do too much, and they have their problems because of that. But I still think Spider-Man 3 had a better story, even when it tried to do too much. And I think that Spider-Man 3 was more successful in just delivering a good movie, where The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a little sloppy.
You're really just keep going.
Oh man, we don't agree on much.
Slam is lost, man.
Yeah.
I honestly I can't pick one here. Look, I guess I could say this: The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is terrible. I hate that movie. I think it's atrocious. I think it's a disgrace to Spider-Man. Sure, the soundtrack is okay. I guess Hans Zimmer did it, and one of my favorite guitarists was helping Hans Zimmer on that. So great, yay, good job. Spider-Man 3 does have the only good live action Venom that we've ever seen. So sure, Spider-Man 3, go woohoo! I mean, yeah.
Oh my god.
Spider-Man 3 it is.
Lesser of evils, right? Yeah, I'm gonna go Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Spider-Man 3, dude.
And it had the black suit.
Yeah, black suit.
Yeah, dude. I freaking hate TASM 2.
Yeah,
and it is funny because when it first came out, everyone hated it, and then out of nowhere, the Garfield simping just started, and it just confuses me, bro. Because we all hated TASM 2, we all did, and now all of a sudden, people say that TASM 2 is like the greatest freaking movie of all time. And also, because I am a costume simp, I hate the big eyes. I hate them so much. I am not a fan of large eyes. So.
But that's I knew you were saying, but that's number one. That's like very Spider-Man in the comics with the big eyes. Number two, more importantly, it's going to be interesting because a lot of people pretend that their opinion or perspective was different at a certain time. When Daniel Craig was announced that James Bond, fans went ballistic. I wasn't one of them. I was like, let's see it out. I think, I'm sure they make them for a good reason. But what I'm getting at here is I think a lot of the Snyder cult on Twitter, X, whatever, are going to, I think they're going to be like, I think they're going to pretend that they weren't hating on the Snyderverse. I think they're going to pretend they weren't hating on James Gunn and they didn't doubt the DCU. And when the DCU movies and shows are coming out and they're fired, they're going to be like, oh, DCU is fucking great. We're fans of this. This stuff's awesome. I knew James Gunn was going to deliver. Like, these kids are such clowns and they are going to be so full of shit. But the ones that have a bigger account or their tweets get somewhat virality, we're gonna remember you. Okay,
Yep.
We will remember.
The same way, and we bring this up every time, Slav. Jerry and I remember, bro, when that first Robert Pattinson Batman teaser came out, everybody was hating, bro. I got roasted from my old co-host about this. They both cooked me. And then out of nowhere, everyone was on TikTok putting black freaking makeup on the bottom of their eyes and buying motorcycles and playing Nirvana, bro. It's just so funny how things turn around. It's so funny. It's so funny. Okay. So now we are going to do the last one of the night. This might be a clean one. This might be a clean sweep or an easy one. Hopefully they can agree on one. Well, I guess they both agreed on Spider-Man 3. Slav hates both, so hopefully we can meet common ground here. The next one is which TV show is better, counting all seasons?
Ooh, this is a tough one, but I know what I'm going to go with.
Am I going first? Is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
I think so.
My turn to go first. See, I really liked Loki. Daredevil was a lot of fun too. Daredevil had a lot of. I'm gonna go with Loki, and I think I'm going with Loki because it's just still fresh and in my mind. But Loki was just there hasn't been a show like it's. What the hell's in my mouth? Anyways, problem having a mustache. Anyway, look, the weird shit you hear coming out of my mouth. It's one of the few projects over the last 4 years that has just been phenomenal from the MCU, and I do mean that by saying phenomenal. Tom Hiddleston is fantastic, and every episode left me wanting to see what was coming next. I remember, season 1. It was like every episode, and that dynamic that you had with him and Sylvie was fantastic. And then in season 2, the dynamic he had with him and the variant of He Who Shall Not Be Named, or whatever it was, of Kang, the variant of Kang
He Who
was
Remains.
He Who Remains. Yeah, I
You say he
slipped
used
into
to not be named. Are you talking about
Harry
Voldemort?
Potter. Voldemort, yeah. Slipped
That was
into
going on
Harry
TikTok.
Potter there. That's fine. But again, maybe it's just Tom Hiddleston. I mean, he's a fantastic actor, but the dynamic that you kept seeing with him and these characters was great. Plus, the dynamic between him and Owen Wilson's character was great as well. It just, every episode you were just like, I want to see what's happening next. I need to see what's happening next. That's not to say that Daredevil wasn't great, but that was a different type of great. That was different. That was just kind of like, yeah, this is cool. I like the action. This is fun. Yeah, beat those people up. Yeah, this is cool. But it was never, maybe because it was just like you could binge the whole thing in one afternoon. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe there is something to the weekly releases as opposed to binging it all in one day. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know, but I'm going with Loki.
So this was a really tough one for me because I love both of them. And Loki, like, I had to really think about it because I initially gave Loki an advantage because of like the implications that and the sorry, not the implications, the impact Loki had on the MCU almost made me give that a better ranking in my own mind. And I think that's a really interesting concept because, if something has an impact on a shared universe, that doesn't necessarily make it a standalone better project. And it's easy. I think that's like a big advantage Marvel has with the MCU. Like, I think we love projects more because of what they mean to the MCU. Um, obviously Daredevil's not part of the MCU. Well, actually, now it is, but you know what I mean, because when it came out, it wasn't. Anyway, I'm going with Daredevil, and the reason I'm going with Daredevil, and listen, I agree with everything you said about Loki. I love Loki. I love Ken, so I love He Who Remains. I love the ending of Loki season 2, but Daredevil was just that gritty action, like edge of your seat show where the story was there, the action was there. I think Daredevil is one of like probably I would rank it in like the top 10, maybe even top 5 shows of all time. I mean, Daredevil is that good, and it had it all. It had the drama, it had the story, it had the action, and it was like gritty. And there was I think a bit of espionage to it. It just had it all, man. And listen, Loki was great, but I think Daredevil is the superior project. But I wouldn't fault you for choosing Loki. I think Loki's a great choice, though.
Yeah, Daredevil had, and I can't say this because Arrow season 1 is the greatest season 1 of all time in my eyes. Like Arrow season 1 to me is just the untouchable season 1. But Daredevil,
season 1 was sick.
Yeah, dude. Like Arrow season 1 is just, to me, that's my goat. But Daredevil did have one of the best season 1s. My only issue, and you know this because I'm a costume guy, the fact that they took him out of the costume, it just pisses me off. Like, and what is the point of having a super? And that's a problem with a bunch of the Netflix shows. So I think that what'd you say?
I've said this before, but I'll say it again for whoever's listening. Like, I think that they did that to sell it more to people that aren't necessarily so big, aren't necessarily big fans of superheroes. And that's another thing. Like, on my point about the Dark Knight, like, I think that you are an age where like you never really experienced the world where superhero entertainment wasn't necessarily the biggest thing, and so I don't think you necessarily see it from that angle all the time, just because you never experienced that.
Yeah. It's just that there's shows where you can do that and you can have that type of action without putting the Daredevil mnemonic on it. But that's my opinion. So I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I will probably go Loki just because to be season 2 is fire and season 1. Like, and for me, because I'm a biased costume guy, the costumes took me out. Like Daredevil really took me out when they removed that costume. So yeah. All right. So guys, this is where we are going to end the show. Slav, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you, bro. This is awesome.
Yeah, bro.
No
Can you
problem,
just, of course, can you just tell the fans where they can
Mhm.
find you on the socials, YouTube, etc.?
Yeah. Slavs Free Talk. You can find me on pretty much that way on X, Slavs Free Talk. YouTube, please find me on YouTube at Slavs Free Talk. I'm trying to get to that 500 subscriber mark right
We'll
now.
link you.
YouTube. Yeah, link me down below. That'd be great. I'm trying to hit that. It's just like that's the first milestone I want to hit. I've been pushing this this YouTube channel since October, so to hit that 500 mark would be great right now. So please subscribe there. But yeah, find me on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, at Slab Free Talk. Yeah. And then if you want to, my podcast, Bridging the Geekdoms, should be coming back within the next couple months. So you can find me as well. Look for Bridging the Geekdoms on Twitter or YouTube as well.
Perfect. So yeah, guys, hit up Slav. Please follow him. Please subscribe. Let me make sure that I'm subbed right now.
Yeah,
Just to
me
make
too.
sure. I am now subscribed to 357. So I just subscribe.
There it is.
Everyone, please
I think I am
subscribe to
subscribed.
Slav. Please subscribe to Slav, and I'm gonna subscribe to you on our other channels as well. Please follow us we have fantasy cuts right now. We are covering Invincible. We have action cuts. Jerry's going to be doing some Bond stuff and a bunch of other stuff. He's probably gonna talk about Top Gun. Jerry is like an action connoisseur, so please talk to him about that. And we're gonna get this thing going. We love you guys. Watch X-Men 97 at 3 a.m. I'm kidding, but watch X-Men 97 tomorrow, and peace out.